The last occasion accused us of the depth of our sin. Now we come to the collision of divine judgment and human judgment that Christ came to culminate, the sword that Christ came to bring to earth. But the awful force of that collision is not seen even in the mangled bodies of the slaughtered infants, who, lacking their own voice to call out, must borrow another's voice. For innocent as they were not holy, they were not sacred. The joy that attended their birth was eclipsed by the joy of the birth that was attended by angelic choirs, strange signs, and distant travelers. Christ's suffering is not other than the infant's. It includes it. It includes all your suffering, all the suffering of all that have ever suffered, the billions upon billions of voices in the night. When you cry out to God and think that God has not heard you, that God does not care, that you are all alone in the darkness, you are wrong. God has not only heard your suffering, God has suffered your suffering. No grief is ever suffered alone because no grief has not been suffered by God, not just in kind, but in number. The God-man did the impossible and bore the near infinite pain, not of many, but of all. This is the grief and shame that weigh him down. Your grief and mine, your shame and mine. It is not the scorn of the first century mockers that surrounds him. It is the scorn that surrounds us. He has lost his crown of glory because we have thrown away ours, and he languishes in the despair we worked for ourselves. Hence the anguished cry of the second verse, mine, mine was the transgression. When I called out to you, Lord, in my distress, I didn't know what I was asking. I didn't know what it would cost you. I wanted you to do whatever I asked of you, but I didn't know what it was I was asking. I didn't know that I was asking the victim to become the victimizer, the infant to bear the shame of Herod. Christ's work was for all, not just for a few or some. All those who do not find their suffering in his, do not lighten his suffering, they make part of it vain. This song is a song of love. It is the song of a love so deep that it would undergo all for the sake of the beloved. But it is also the song of the beloved who longs also to be a worthy lover. Love awakens love, but the response is often slow. This is necessary, for the first love is spontaneous, and the spontaneous traverses the farthest of distances with the greatest of ease. There is something calculating in the response, which, while it may be spontaneous, is yet a derived spontaneity, and therefore not truly sua sponte from itself. Thus our love fosters itself by reflecting on his love, and it calls out for increase. But there is nothing more desperate than the final plea, let me never, never outlive my love for thee. This is the longing of our hearts, and it teaches us that to die is better than to live with a love grown cold.